Hi, I'm Kat Russell. I'm a poet, a writer, a blogger. I post some of my poems on the WordPress platform at catrussellwriter.wordpress.com. I've been doing that for 13 years. I have a book of poetry out last year via Crisis Chronicles Press called Soul Picked Clean, and I soon will have a book of short stories out via Venetian Spider Press called An Optimist Journal of the End of Days and Other Stories. I was asked to contribute a video talking a little bit about my writing process when it comes to writing poems. So I'm just going to give you a general idea of what works for me. I've gleaned this over time from different workshops and classes that I've gone to, both online and in person. Uh, but basically, I'm going to talk as if you're not familiar with the process at all, um, because I don't know where you are in your writing journey. But basically, I start with something that has stuck in my mind for some reason. A lot of people call it an abiding image. Basically, it's learning to listen to that little voice, that little nagging voice in your head that something has really stuck in your brain. It either bothers you or it strikes you a certain way and it just sticks with you. That's when you know you have the seed of a really good poem, at least for me. Um, so you start with something like that, something that really sticks in your head. And then what I usually do is I free write, which basically is exactly what it sounds like. You just sit down and you write everything that comes into your head. You don't worry so much about form or word choices. You just write everything that's in your brain and you just dump it on the page. And some people might not even start off with a particular image in mind. They might just start writing something along the lines of, I don't know what to write, and eventually what will happen is they'll sift through whatever's in their unconscious and they'll get to the good stuff. But usually I start with something that's already something I've been thinking about for quite a while. I'll free write, and then the key is to put it away for a little while and leave it alone. And usually that's at least a couple days. Not always. Sometimes if I have a deadline or something, I might not be able to wait that long, but I let it sit so that I'm not over analyzing it, that I've already written it and it's already in my brain. I need to be able to come back to it and look at it with fresh eyes. So after some time has passed and I've forgotten about it a little bit, I come back to it and I look at it. And because I'm reading with fresh eyes, it allows me to see patterns that emerge. I might be using a certain metaphor over and over again, or I might be talking about a particular uh, color or phrase, or I might notice that I've used 5 different colors when I'm talking about something, or whatever pattern is emerging, and I'll highlight it or bold it or underline it or whatever to call attention to the patterns that are there. Then I'll try to go through and restructure a little bit. I'll look for things that sound better, because poetry is based in music, so a lot of it is about the way it sounds. So a lot of times when I'm doing the edits, I'll read them aloud to myself so I can hear what the patterns are, because sometimes the rhymes aren't necessarily obvious, or the near rhymes aren't necessarily obvious until you actually read it, because sometimes the rhyme might appear in the middle of a line or something. So I'll listen for that and see what happens. I'll rearrange. I try to use things like, I like to use repetition a lot for emphasis, to call attention to certain things. Rhymes for particular emphasis. If I see a theme has emerged in my second draft or whatever, then I might want to expand on the theme, or I might start thinking of other metaphors that tie into the theme, like maybe I'll notice something's water-based, so then I'll look for other water-based metaphors. And I'll keep doing that. I'll expand on my descriptions. I have a long history of writing flash fiction, which is very short prose. So I know that for me, I need to really think about description a lot, because a lot of times I opt not to describe something very well when actually a description would help. Like, it would help to add more visceral details to something to bring it alive. Um, when you have One of the things that I think works in a really good poem is it has visceral details. It engages the senses. It talks about sights and smells. It it makes things come alive by talking about details. You don't just talk about love. You talk about your bloody, bleeding heart on the page, or how the ink ran out of your veins, or something like that. Um, it's the power of the poem is in the details. Sometimes you're being vague because it is a metaphor, but you still want to tie it into something specific to make it, to ground the poem, to make it concrete. And you also want to have some sort of tension in the poem. Like, if you're writing a poem about your dog, yeah, your dog is adorable and, fluffy, and you can write all these wonderful little things about the dog, but it still has to have some sort of tension to ground the poem, to make it feel like there's something at stake. So basically, that's it. I hope this helped. I know this. She told me to keep this short, just a short description of my process. So again, what works for me may not work for you, but it might. So if you try it and it works, great. And if it doesn't, then you'll find your own method. But that's what works for me. And thank you for your time.